the sponsor of today's live, a gentleman who wanted to make this available on YouTube and Instagram, who's supported me in so many wonderful ways, besides being a brother and inspiration. His name is Yamuna Bihari. He has a company called Conscious Business Mastery. And yeah, it's been a wonderful inspiration in just my services as well as um, studying Marma with him. That was something else. Him and Vera have a space called a Marma Method. We'll be dropping these links for you all to check out in the recordings. But we're going to be diving into the transits for the month of March. And it is a beautiful month with a lot serving medicine, a lot of different medicines that will be coming in. And before we begin, I just want to take a couple seconds to set a intention for the way that we look at the skies. Now, for those of you who are watching through our platform of Tribe of Pilgrims, you're well familiar with the way that we look at the sky. And to reiterate the importance of avoiding any flavor of entitlement and any flavor of victimization. Like, oh, this planet's going to be here, so things are going to be great. It's going to be such a good month because I have this placement here, and this my moon, so now all of a sudden everything's going to be so good. Or, oh no, this is happening. It's going to be an eclipse. It's going to, this is, no, every time this or every time that, or I've been in a relationship with someone who has this placement, and then we project all kinds of troubles and challenges towards these spaces. And if we could, hey brother, if we could enter into the space with a clean slate, ready to receive medicine, ready to receive possibility, and even in areas where it might be harder for us to digest, harder for us to interpret and trust that this transit will have the capacity to be distilled into medicine, that's the way to move forward. A lot of the times we create these preconceived ideas as to, the chart is like this, the transit's like this. We really want to avoid that as much as possible. Every single transit has blessings, and every single transit has challenges that are also blessings in disguise. So if we can preface this study of the month of March with the mentality that we believe in a benefic universe. We believe in everything having a purpose, and all of the pieces of this universe, whether it's individuals, whether it's planets, are all working together to facilitate the ideal environment for transformation. We're all set. We're good to go. So without further ado, let's dive into the month. For those of you that are watching on Instagram or YouTube, please leave your questions in the comments and we will address them at a later point. And for those of you who are inside our Tribe of Pilgrims membership, then we will complete our presentation for the month, leave the lives for our brothers and sisters on YouTube and Instagram, and we will have our popcorn collective space as well as answering any questions that you guys might have in particular. So with that established, let's dive in. Now, we also want to remind that we're looking at the sky from the perspective of Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology. Some transits may be different than what we see from the Western astrological perspective. It's not to say one is right, one is wrong. We're somehow here. Let's find medicine in what we're seeing, or we resonate with this version of witnessing the sky. The month begins, we have this month of March begins with Venus in the sign of Pisces. On the 1st of March, Venus enters Pisces. Now, Venus being the planet of so many wonderful realities of creativity, of sensuality, of healing, of embodiment, and luscious moisture in all of its manifestations that and facilitate growth. Venus becomes very, very happy when Venus enters into the sign of Pisces. Pisces being the depths of the ocean. Pisces is a space of the ocean when you directions and you don't see land. So Venus having that freedom of moisture and capacity, and the waves can reach tremendous heights, and the depths can go into the abyss. Venus actually really, really loves this sign. So when Venus enters into Pisces, there is a massive abundance of Venusian energy that is available. Now, in strength, that opens up opportunities of creativity, that opens up opportunities of experience, and depending on our Venus placements, may manifest in different ways. The challenges that can also manifest here is an overindulgence of Venusian energy, or a particular entitlement towards this Venetian energy. So we start to see Venetian realities in all spaces, and the danger is coming into the mentality that Venus is for me to enjoy. Now, I would be lying if I said I've fallen prey to this reality of witnessing Venetian truth and then believing that somehow, because it is so wonderful, it is so beautiful, then I must interact with it in a way that is pleasing to me. And this is actually very detrimental, very dangerous. The other day, my daughter, we were at a store and she saw this beautiful little fluffy doll, and she said, "Papa, can you buy it?" Just the idea that she understands it has to be purchased already melted my heart. But then she says, "I said, no, baby, we're not buying this right now." And she says, "But it's so fluffy." Right? So this idea like, oh, it's so soft, it's so attractive, it's so beautiful, I must have it. It must be for me. And this is the slippery slope of Venus entering Pisces, is we're going to see beauty everywhere, and can we witness it and also appreciate it as not manifesting specifically for us? Is that moment that we're walking past the neighbor's yard and we just pick the rose that they've been waiting for, right? It's not for you. You can appreciate and also respect that it has its own wonder and its own process and its own journey. So this is going to be a unique experience with Venus entering into exaltation in the sign. Now, as Venus enters into exaltation, it's very interesting that at the same time as Venus enters into exaltation, and now though it's entering on the 1st of March, it's already moving in that direction. Venus is already moving towards Pisces, so we're already experiencing awareness of realities related to Venus coming into our lives. Realities, I can speak for myself, the wave of medicine that is coming from the Venetian angle right now is so intense. All the ways that I may have not interacted with Venetian realities with integrity are coming for me, and are coming in ways for me to learn. And the desire to defend myself is the most dangerous approach with Venus. It's actually opening and softening and learning from that Venetian truth of vulnerability, receive that medicine. And the irony, or perhaps the grand architecture, is that this Venus is coming in on the 1st into Pisces and coming into exaltation and coming into the front seat, the front burner. And then on the 3rd, lunar eclipse in Leo, right? So it's all like, ta-tum. It's like that, ta-tum, right? They're coming in tandem. And so this Venus comes in, and then the lunar eclipse. And now we're obviously already in the eclipse portal, having the eclipse having passed just recently. Moon moving towards Ketu, the south node in the sign of Leo. We are feeling this intermission transit of this eclipse. And as the moon enters into the sign of Leo, meets Ketu, and we're going to enter into this eclipse. So now, to unpack this eclipse a little, wow, where'd you begin? Eclipses in general are a disruption of a stasis. They're a very wonderful thing. They're a very, very lovely reality that allows a refresh, right? What comes to mind right now is you're sampling perfumes in United Arab Emirates in some very fancy store, and there's so many different things going on, and Venus is activated, so everything smells amazing. There's a lot of oud. Then you sniff like a cup of really intense espresso beans. There's a reason that you breathe in the coffee in between fragrances, to clear the palate. There's a reason why that palette must be clear, to be able to make sense of the different chapters. So these grand astral breaks, like the solstice, like the eclipses, are there to create a clearing of the palette. Like winter, there's a purpose for it. So whatever aspect of our life we are experiencing the eclipse coming around, like, oh, it's coming here. It's starting to pinch. You'll already feel the pinch now. It's like, oh, it's gonna go right there. It's that moment in body work where the you have a particular pain and a particular knot that you actually went to the session for, and you feel the thumbs or the elbow of whoever's facilitating your transformation moving towards that spot, and there's like, oh, there, it's gonna be painful, but that's why we purchased a session. So as the intensity is approaching now, we can already moving towards, and it's gonna be related with our vulnerability. Solar eclipse is going to be very strongly related to what we're trying to achieve, getting pinched, what our ego, our arrogance, our pride, right? And the moon is going to be our like areas of weakness, those narratives that we've known were incongruent a long time, those vulnerable points that we've been insecure or defending ourselves around for years. That's where the pinch is coming, and it's sharpening for us to identify where the knot is. That is the blessing. It's sharpening. So it's like, oh, there it is. That's the work I need to do. That's the area I need to let go of. So as this moon is moving towards Leo, we're that tight now. Leo in itself has so many expressions and so many different aspects of reality that it represents and governs. And naturally, we think of Leo, we think of the pedestal, we think of the throne, we think of the stage. It has a lot to do with our public image. It has a lot to do with the way we present ourselves. It has a lot to do with our creativity and projection of self into the world. And there are like two main sides of Leo energy, and one is our internal narrative as to what we want to present. It's like the rehearsal when you're going on to, I'm going to do this and it's going to come across this way. And then there's the way it's actually perceived, the way it actually comes off, and the level of integrity that we have with what it is that we're presenting is going to be that balance. So wherever we're out of it with the way we're relating with the general world, that's going to be a Leo eclipse. So we want to look at whatever reflections are coming our way already now. It doesn't have to happen on the eclipse. Whatever reflections may be coming. Oh, someone's talking about me in this way. What can I learn from that? Rather than, oh, gossip. Oh, people are saying this. Okay, this is the energetic that's moving. This is a reflection that's coming. It's uncomfortable. It may be unbearable. It may be painful. What am I supposed to learn from this? So as the eclipse tightens, we also can take into consideration, now for those of you that may not be familiar, in the Vedic tradition, we don't just look at the zodiac signs, but within them, there's like smaller zodiacs that are called lunar mansions or nakshatras, right? So the nakshatra or lunar mansion that the eclipse is going to take place around is called Purva Falguni, yeah? Purva Falguni is the lunar mansion that the eclipse is taking place in. My mistake, Purva Falguni. And so Purva Falguni is again related to Venus. So everything ironically, everything we're sharing still aligns in that the Venetian aspect of this Venus entering into seas, then followed by the eclipse with this Purva Falguni energy, immediately activates both Venetian reality, art, performance, sacred sexuality, beauty, the entire expression of refining all that is Venetian into its almost most pure expression. Now, expression in that it is no longer just held, right? It's one thing to have something that is Venetian kept for oneself, and it's one thing to have something Venetian and then expressed outwards. Now, this can be something like, for example, entity reconnecting with their body. There's still a new interaction. So interaction on the basis of Venetian realization. This is where an actor all of a sudden comes into a new expression of themselves, or an artist discovers their sound, right? So this Purva Falguni energy coming in around the eclipse is a opportunity for us to recognize the places where we have been out of alignment with Venetian reality and how to come into greater alignment with Venetian reality. In my case, the story of exercise, coming back into health and vitality within my body. Perhaps for someone else, discovering a new connection with our art or a creative force. For those of you that are feeling writer's block, if you are a writer, this is an amazing time to explore opportunities for creating new channels of expression and creativity within a particular field. Now, this block also will stop us from the areas that we have been being creativity or generating creativity out of our integrity. So if we're noticing some area of our Venetian either indulgence or expression that is shutting down, this is the eclipse purging this area from us, and we should allow that purge to give space for new possibility on the other side. Now, moving on from the eclipse, we have Jupiter turning direct. Now, everybody talks Mercury retrogrades, every planet retrogrades, but mostly we talk about Mercury retrogrades. However, Jupiter has been retrograde now for some time and is turning direct. Jupiter representing all that is abundant in sweetness, all that is abundant in growth, in nurturing. If we want to understand Jupiter, think Santa Claus, right? Energy that wants to give. It is an energy that is well rounded, is an energy that is mature and elderly and has so much to give. Now, within ourselves, there may be a feeling of one thing I've noticed a lot of my clients for some time now is what they're calling, what is it? Where you feel like you're what you're doing. It's like impersonation complex, or it's I can't remember the exact terminology. Where you are feeling like what I'm doing, I'm not actually qualified to do this. Like I'm actually not qualified. I need to get more imposter syndrome. Thanks, Aubrey. Thank you. You got my back, guys. And so coming into this feeling of like I'm doing something that I feel is in alignment, it's what I meant to be doing, it's what I want to be. All of a sudden, this doubt, and this is naturally Jupiter retrograde asking us to pay attention to the areas where we can learn more. Thank you guys out there helping me out. Thank you. This is a teamwork effort here, and I'm a little embarrassed. This is like kind of didn't happen. The mathematical aspect of astrology is so important, and also there is a mystic element, and I'm definitely experiencing the humility of, you know, not having prepared well enough. I'm gonna have more than chicken scratch for you guys. You know, it's like, oh, a transit update, 45 minutes. I can wing that. I got this. You know, and then those kind of things leak through. So I'm learning. And so with the turning direct, there is an opportunity for us to grow again. And everything that we felt was like twanging, every part of our nervous system in our offerings or in our exchange or in a relationship that we felt out of integrity, like, oh, I'm not actually good enough, I actually need to learn more. All that is true. Learn more, study more, you know, and also continue to carry out what it is that you need to do, what it is that you know you're supposed to be carrying. So everything that Jupiter's retrogression taught us as to where we need to study, because Jupiter, I've been looking at him in the sky every night so beautifully. If you're here on the East Coast, like just a little after sunset, look up towards the eastern horizon, you'll see her popping up in the middle of Gemini. And it's like the teacher, Jupiter, the grand teacher, the grand master, is sitting where? In Gemini, in the seat of the student, right? So, yeah, like to be taken down a notch and make a mistake and recognize, oh, I can do better this way. I can learn more over here. Maybe I'm good at interpreting the sky, and maybe I need to do more as far as like preparing for a class and feeling like I'm honoring the time of those that come in this way. So there's always something to learn, and Jupiter's retrogression will give us that. Now, when Jupiter stations still to turn direct, that is a day where there will be definitely like a point to be aware of. So on the 10th of March, Jupiter finishes going backwards, and he's going to come to like a full stop and then come start moving forward. So, you know, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, I would pay attention to our life where we feel inadequate in our knowledge, in our capacity, in our ability, and allow that to inform areas that we can study more, right? If we spend, you know, 1 or 2 hours less Netflix, we could learn something, right? We could read a book, we could just do a little research. And now the internet provides us so much capacity to research things. You can rewrite this deficit or perceived deficit that Jupiter is bringing to our attention. Now, on the 14th of March, the Sun makes his transit. The Sun moves from the sign of Aquarius into the sign of Pisces. The Sun's movement is always a very significant one. We are so tied to the Sun being the center of our galaxy, our universe, but particularly the Sun is our drive, our area of focus, our um, engine, our masculine desire. So when the Sun moves, there is definitely an energetic shift. And the Sun entering the sign of Pisces, the Sun goes from Aquarius, which is a very ethereal space of general public. We go from Capricorn of like battlefield, the fog of war, to now caring about everyone. You're seeing the amount of damage that came as a result of whatever endeavor came through. Like, was this worth it? Should I have invested my energy this way? Should I have allied this way? So naturally we start to consider from a like zoomed out perspective whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And then as the Sun moves into Pisces, now it's depth. So now we've kind of witnessed the field, witnessed the different things that may have come up, and now during the Sun's Pisces transit, we really want to dive into one area of our reality, maybe one or two for those that have capacity. But I now want to go deep into something, right? So these are all the things we need to do, and the multitasking of Aquarius needs to stop. The monotasking of Pisces needs to begin. What am I going to really achieve during this transit of the Sun in Pisces in my own personal growth, in my business practice, and whatever things we have in line for us. And with the Sun in Pisces, we also recognize the Sun being with Venus in Pisces. So the opportunity for creativity and fulfillment in that exploration will be great. We're also accompanied by a very, very happy Venus, right? Which is always a good thing, right? Venus, there was one teacher that I had in school. He used to say, wife happy, everybody, an Indian gentleman. He's like, wife happy, everybody happy. So Venus does represent maiden, and definitely can represent the feminine energy. And it's like, if the feminine energy is feeling uplifted, there's great opportunity for everyone to feel uplifted. And we want to honor all feminine realities in our life, especially once the Sun moves in, especially those of us that are masculine embodied. We want to honor the feminine realities in our life when the Sun is entering to the sign of Pisces. Now, we have in Pisces, which will take place in Uttara Bhadrapada. So the new moon comes now. The moon comes all the way around from eclipse and reunites with the Sun in Pisces, coming into this layer of depth. And Pisces, as we said, is this area of the ocean where no longer we can see land, and it has its lateral expanse and it has its vertical expanse in its depth. And within the sign of Pisces, we have this new moon in Uttara Bhadrapada, which is depth. It is subterranean, right? So this is an opportunity for us to come into awareness as to happening underneath the surface, right? Of our own reality, of particular relationships. We may hear or exchange with others that they feel a certain way about us or think a certain way about us. And rather than entering into a defensive mechanism, we want to lean into it's like, oh, what is it they're perceiving? What is it that I'm perceiving? And there's a lot of wonderful practices that we can do to tap into our subconscious. And one of the great I've experienced myself is daily pages, right? You spend some time in the early morning, depending on what your schedule looks like, and just, allow words to flood the page. Not necessarily congruent, not trying to think of anything. You're just letting it go. So for this new moon, approaching this new moon, with it being in this space of awareness as to the, behind the veil, it's a very, very favorable time to it's almost like to harvest from the subconscious. So dream journals, this kind of daily pages kind of practice of just allowing to manifest without strategically constructing them. All these kinds of practices where you may have are very favorable to harness the medicine of this particular new moon. And immediately after the new moon, we have the spring equinox, which is lovely. It's like, wow, now we have another powerful marker point. And, with the equinox, we have, again, the desire to assess balance. So on the day of the, we want to, um, one of my teachers says, walk like a lion, right? Walk like a lion in your world. The lion, king of the jungle, who lives in the savannah, ironically, moves through like in a prowl, in a very majestic, powerful movement, explore what is taking place in your life, what is taking place in your consciousness, what is taking place in your financial reality, finalizing your taxes, like all of these areas, like, wow, what is actually, if I actually look, actually could receive a report from every area of my life. What is my body doing like? What's my report here? Okay. How are my finances, my relationships, how is my spiritual evolution? So to receive a very, very strict report as to all these different areas and look at how balanced our life is. That's what we want to be doing in and around the equinox. To then like a pit stop before moving on towards the next solstice. So with Pisces, you know, depth of research is extremely valuable. As we approach the equinox, we can already start to pay attention as much as we can as to what is actually coming up. Where are we as far as what we want it to be in and around these different areas of our life, and then we'll be able to distill great value there. And then on the 25th of March, Venus completes um, the transit of Pisces and moves into Aries. Venus moving into Aries then draws this energy into the Arian space of I've had this opportunity to bask in the Pisces space of all that Venus loves to experience in Pisces, and then boom, move into Aries where now affect change. Now, Venus in itself will feel the almost like the jolt of shifting from Pisces to Aries. There's a very big jolt there. Pisces being the depths of the ocean, and Aries being the top of the mountain. So our Venetian experience, we will notice shift, and it'll be interesting to pay attention as to where that manifests for us. But in general, it's a desire to now bring whatever we harvested from Venus transit in Pisces into effect in our lives. Is what Mars wants to do. Mars wants to, like, the energy of Mars and Aries, like, now let's do something with this. Okay, you've harvested all this creativity, like, now let's do it. And this Venus move from Pisces to Aries is where a lot of artists find challenge, because this is where you have a great concept, but now how do you actually bring it to the world? How do you actually, maybe generate resource as a result of work it into an album, or turn it into a gallery presentation. So this Venus transit of completing the entire zodiac's movement and coming back, like passing go, like make sure you collect your 200. For those that are familiar with Monopoly, you want to really ensure that the energy of Venus carries over into Aries. Oh, I have this idea. Like, I have a negative idea that I've been sitting on, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch this wave, to shift it over. But being aware of that need to shift it from concept to execution, that's what this transit teaches. Um, so with that, we can also just those are all the main transits that are taking place in the month of March. Obviously, Saturn is continuing as Saturn does, climbing Pisces, and in that there is much resource in depth of work. It's like deep work. Everything should feel like deep work. If we're in alignment with the universe, Saturn being in Pisces, everything should work. And so far as whenever I hear or talk to anyone, it's like, oh, yeah, it's been intense. It's been this. It's been a lot. That's natural with Saturn's transit there. So that continues throughout the whole month of March. Ketu is in Leo. Naturally, we have the eclipse. So we've addressed Ketu's main action during the month of March. Rahu remains in Aquarius, right? So that energy of Rahu remains in Aquarius, so that ethereal desire to affect change. So Rahu, wherever Rahu is the main desire, what I want, by hook or by crook, right? So with Rahu remaining in the side of Aquarius, the ideal expression is I want whatever I do to be for the welfare of everyone, right? That's the most integrated expression for the for all of our relations. That's what Rahu in Aquarius ideally wanting to do. So as we navigate throughout, so long as Rahu is in this place, let's really keep in mind, how is what I'm doing going to affect the welfare of everyone. Jupiter stationed, direct in Gemini. We addressed that. Mercury remains in Aquarius, because naturally Mercury is entering into his retrogression, which will be the final thing I want to address before we go offline here. So I'm just covering all the other things. And then Mars in Aquarius, right? Mars in Aquarius remains in Aquarius throughout the whole month of March. Now, for we have Mercury's retrograde coming up. Now, for those of you that are our Mercury Mindset retreat, we're unpacking this entire Mercury retrograde and churning a beautiful process of trying a relationship with stress and anxiety throughout this process. For those that are able to get into that circle, the recordings will be available, so you can reach out if you'd like to get the recordings of stress and anxiety with the medicine Mercury retrograde. That'll be available all year. I'll basically have those recordings available. You can reach out. But the retrograde begins on the 26th of February. This is coming up in a couple days, and this retrograde is, as with all retrogrades, it is a time to exhale. It is a time to take your foot off of the accelerator and downshift some gears. This is the universe's way of ensuring that we don't burn out, right? Unless we have these retrogrades, these Mercury retrogrades, the tendency is just to just keep going, keep pushing, keep pushing. The revolutions are going, and there wouldn't be the opportunity to then exhale, right? Or paradoxically, we're exhaling our energy into something, and now we need to revise ourselves. So throughout any retrograde, that general principle. Now with Mercury, Mercury is connected to the nervous system. Mercury is connected to interconnectivity of all things. Mercury is connected to expression, communication. So that Mercury retrograde, it naturally feels like a hard time to execute. And usually that's what everyone fixates on. Like, oh, Mercury retrograde, the meeting, oh, Mercury retrograde. I could attribute most of my errors today to Mercury retrograde, coming up. But it's the retrograde that is letting us know, why is it difficult to do these things right now? Is this not a time for these very forward-moving actions? It's not to say that the entire world needs to stop, but when we feel if we can soften, then we'll be able to distill what it is that we're supposed to be reflecting or digesting or transforming within this space. If we are able to, through retrograde, shift those still acting, still taking place, our responsibilities, our businesses, our relationships, if during the retrograde we can do our very best to, as much as possible, come into the mindset of perceiving and witnessing what is happening in our system, particularly talking to this particular and its navigations. I'm not going to get too much into the exact details of all this because we are running out of time, but particularly to this retrograde, if we can pay attention to our triggers, what triggers me, and what actually happens in my system when that trigger takes place, and then what is the narrative that starts playing. So an interesting way to think of trigger, especially during a Mercury retrograde, is a moment where you press rewind on an old tape recorder, right? And let's say you have some nice song that you're playing and you're listening to the song. You actually press some funky button on your tape recording, goes, and it starts playing some conversation that is very harmful towards your system, right? And so that trigger, it's some external stimuli, is transporting us back to a particular narrative that we're stuck in, that our psyche, it's a particular trauma, and all a trauma is an undigested experience. So it's a narrative, it's a particular statement, it's a particular exchange, it's a particular wound that is still festering, and that trigger, it takes us back there. So if we can just during the retrograde really become aware what actually happens. It's like, okay, I pull a trigger, it goes bang, something shot. But no, if we can actually understand this goes here, this lever releases this, and it all starts with becoming aware as to what happens in our body when a trigger hits. So the moment we recognize, okay, we're getting triggered, what's actually happening in your body. It's the easiest thing to become aware of. Oh, my shoulders are softening, my head, oh, whatever it is. Paying attention to that. And from that, following that very nuanced awareness to what I'm feeling, right? And so obviously, this entire process is something we're unpacking throughout the Mercury Mindset Retreat, and we'll be running through the entire retrograde through to the other side. And there's so much to be distilled there, but I wanted to share that one principle with you. Really pay attention to your triggers throughout this retrograde, and there's a lot of medicine that's available there. And again, for those of you who want access to the recordings, they will be available as we go. Just the live space is now closed. So with that, I close my humble attempt at drawing some consciousness and awareness towards the head. For those of you that are in our Tribe of Pilgrims space, we're going to be entering a space of conversation and question shortly. For those of you on Instagram and YouTube, thank you for watching. These recordings will be made available once we're complete with our offerings today. And then any questions or comments you want to leave in the comment section, we'll do our best to reply and address to them as soon as possible. Maybe it might take the Mercury retrograde to actually set up. See how that goes. All right, we'll see you all again soon. Thank you, and until next time.